Hello, basketball coaches and basketball players. My name is Alan from Al's Basketball Training, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you can beat a 2-3 zone defense at the middle school level. I know that there's more and more coaches using the 2-3 zone, and there's more and more coaches who are getting ticked off and mad because either their teams are unable to beat that 2-3 zone or the fact that they think it's cheating. So, what I'm going to tell you today is, yes, you can beat a 2-3 zone, and this is how you can do it so that you can force the other team into running a man-to-man defense so that now you have the upper advantage because they probably have been practicing a 2-3 zone and not a man-to-man defense. So this is how you can get them on their heels. Let's get down to the clipboard, and I'll show you a few plays and a few tactics that you can run to beat this 2-3 zone. So first off, you have to really understand what a zone defense is and what a 2-3 zone defense wants to do. So first off, in a zone defense, you're guarding an area of the court and not an individual man. Secondly, now a 2-3 zone is trying to keep you out of the key and trying to force you towards the sidelines and preferably down into those two corners. That way, they are basically stopping you from allowing you to score. That way, well, let's see. Let's see if you can beat this really easily. Number one, there's a few gaps that you can attack at first. The first gaps are these top three. And what I mean by gaps is that's those double team areas. Because like I was mentioning before, these players are guarding an area of the court and not necessarily an individual man. So, in those double team locations, that's where those zones overlap. That's where you really want to attack. So you can have player 1 attack the gap here, which will close player 1 and 2. He can pass out to player 3, who can now attack this gap, which is going to close those two players. Now, if player 5 goes down closer towards the baseline, you can now have player 3. He could have shot. That's one option anyways. But player 5 can go and pop out. He could pop down if player 5 is popping up, and that could be an easy layup. That's why I mentioned that at first. But player 5 could pop out. This could be an open shot for player 5. And then that's going to be now having player 4 and 5 pop out on player 5 blue, especially if he starts driving. We can have player 3 pop back outside of the three-point line. And now we can have player 4 attack the middle of the key. That could be a pass in for a layup. Or if player 3 came in to help out, we can pass out. Essentially, this is just basically reading and reacting to the defense. The whole idea is to attack those gaps. Those initial gaps up top, attack those. See what the defense is giving you. Find the open player and make that pass. Now I'm going to show you a quick play that you can run. This is an overload offense. So we have 3 out and 2 in. Player 1's going to pass over to player 3 and player 1 goes down into that corner. We're now going to be having, initially, we're going to be having possibly one of those two players open. Player 3 could have taken that 3-point shot. If player 4 came up and didn't see player 1 cutting down, what's going to happen is now player 1 could have been open for a shot. And now, what I want to see is player 4 going up towards that high post, because essentially, against a zone, the high post is one of the most deadly areas of the court. We can pass into player 4. If that draws up player 5, which a lot of the times it will, we can have a nice pass down to player 5 for a layup. Or if that draws in player 1 and 2, and doesn't draw in player 5, we could have player 2 open. Now, anytime player 2 gets that ball, whether it be coming from player 4 or player 3, it doesn't matter. As soon as player 2 gets that ball, we need to now reverse our offense over towards that side of the court. So how we are going to do that is by having player 4 do one of two things. He can cut down towards that corner, or player 5 can cut across and player 4 can go down. It doesn't matter. But they need to know what they're doing. So if player 5 is already cutting across, then player 4 needs to go down. If player 5 hasn't started cutting across yet, then player 4 is going down. What I want to see here is player 4 setting that screen on player 3 and player 5 setting that screen on player 5 red, we're going to be seeing player 2 already running out and player 3 cutting off. Now, with player 5 setting that screen on player 5 red, we may have a quick pass down to player 4. Again, reading the defense, seeing what's happened, and then going from there. But if player 3 is cutting that off, then that's just not there. We are now going to have player 1 cutting across the baseline and popping out. And we're going to be having player 2 pass down to player 1. At this point in time, our defense is shifting, and we may again have player 4 open for a layup. If not, then what we're going to be having once player 2 makes that pass, I want to see him cutting down towards that corner, and I want to see player 5 cutting up. Again, now player 2 may be open until player 3 recovers down and plays defense. And then what we're going to be having is player 5 blue open in the high post once again. As you can see, this is a motion offense. It's a motion overload. And this way we can get ourselves some nice easy baskets. By feeding the high post, we have many options that are open to us. Now I'm going to use and show you my strategy that I personally use and I love to use against any kind of 2-3, 3-2, or 2-1-2 zone defense. And that is the 5-out motion offense. And quite literally, if you're coaching a really young team, it may not even be old enough to be middle school. You could be coaching an under 10 team or an under 11 team. Or if you're just coaching any team at all. A 5-out offense is absolutely fantastic against a 2-3, 3-2, and 2-1-2 zone. Let me show you really quickly on the clipboard what I mean. So by running a 5-out, especially against a 2-3, and if you really spread your players wide, well, basically you're opening up the baseline for one, and these two players are going to be open. The reason why they're going to be open, player 1 and 2, they want you to get the ball out from the top of the key. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to pass over to player 3. That's going to now bring player 1 over and player 4 out. Player 5 is going to be covering that low post. Player 2 is going to come over and player 3 is going to come over. Now, of course, this is not going to be like a regular 5-out basic motion offense. There's no way of screening away because it's a zone defense. So you're going to be doing one of two things. You're going to be running either a pass and screen 4, which player 1 just passed to player 3 and he can go and screen for that man, or he can pass and cut. Those are the two options. Now, if player 1 uses or does that screen, player 3 will use that screen and player 1 will roll off. That's going to be bringing player 2 up. Player 1 is going to try and recover, and player 3 is going to pass into player 1. What I want to see here is player 1 looking to take that shot. That is option number 1. Option number 2 is if player 5, this is again, reading the defense. You need to have all your players understanding what this defense is going to do and reacting against it. So if it brings player 5 up to contest player 1's shot, player 1 has an option, and so does player 2 and player 5. Player 5 has the option to cut. Player 4 may be down. Player 5 may be wanting to cut up. He has two options. It all comes down to what player 4 is doing. Player 2 may also be cutting, and player 4 may be looking to get open somewhere along this wing. Because now we have essentially isolated player 4 red into either cutting off that pop pass or cutting off that baseline cut. If he's cutting off the baseline cut, player 5 moves up. We have an open 3-point shot. If he doesn't cut off that baseline, player 5 can cut baseline, it's going to be a layup. Now we also have player 3 red isolated, where now he's defending two players. And what we're looking to do here is have player 2 cut baseline, and that's going to be now bringing player 3 red in. If he doesn't see that, we have an open layup. If he does see that, we don't have an open layup, but we can do a lob pass or a really strong pass out to player 4. He can take a 3, take a dribble in, or he could just cut in a little bit if he can't make it from the 3-point range. Either way, he's going to have an open shot somewhere over there. Now, this is the whole idea of making the extra pass as well. So let me show you what I mean. If player 4 gets that ball and player 2 recovers, then what I want to see happen, and player 3 recovers, player 4 could pass down to player 2. That is an option. But what I want to see is a pass out to player 3. Player 3 gets that ball. I definitely want player 5 cutting to baseline towards that rim. The reason for that is for the rebound, because player 3 is definitely going to be taking that shot. Now, of course, I just broke down what the 5-out motion would be after you start reading and reacting to the defense. But again, if you haven't seen any basic motion, 5-out motion offenses, I do have other videos like that on this channel, so definitely go check that out. I'll see you guys again later on today for the second video of the day.